Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Benjamin Breaker Vaani, and I'm back with game number 2 from the Gfinity Spring Masters. And I got this replay not even an hour ago from the front page of TeamLiquid.net. Now spawning at the 12 o'clock position as our red Zerg, it's going to be Evil Genius's Jaedong. And he just lost game number 1 to his opponent at the 6 o'clock position in the blue, mYi's JJakji. Now it is kind of late at night here as I am casting this replay for you guys. Let's go and talk about the map just a little bit before we go too much further into what our players could be planning. Yes, we've got that, I guess you could say, safe natural tucked away for both sides. And I feel like on this map it's much more difficult to take your natural out here as Zerg, because if you just look at the distance from the ramp to that base, that's a lot of distance you're gonna have to go to spread creep as a Zerg player. On top of that, it's so wide open that if you were to go with a hatch first at this peculiar location, I feel like the standard Hellion run-bys would do so much economic damage that it would actually put you far enough behind as a Zerg player to actually, how do I say this, knock you off your game. Put your opponent, your turn opponent, at, I wouldn't say an unfair advantage, but basically a solid advantage. Let's put it that way. The timing that you should be making army would be knocked off. And it looks like, with that being said, Jaedong's going to go ahead and go with his natural in the hidden, I guess you'd say tucked away location. Now, back at home, we have all the makings, excuse me, back at home for JJakji, that is, we have all the makings necessary for Reapers to come out. And indeed, it will be at least one Reaper for the time being. JJakji was able to get an amazing lead by producing 3 Reapers and getting a kill on a Queen in game number 1. It's kind of a spoiler alert, but I'm not going to give away just 2-1. But in this best of 3, one of our players is up 1 point. Ah, screw it. I'll go ahead and give some spoilers. Jaedong lost game number 1 there on Deadwing, and I mean, if we examine Jaedong as a player, I feel like he's much more solid, much more consistently stronger than JJakji in many tournaments. And I think like he would be the player that is slated to take this best of 3. But then again, he does have some of his own rough spots. He did lose to Yoey Flashwolves Ian at the Taiwan Open 2014. And I'm not saying this to bash on Ian by any means, but he never qualified for Code S in the GSL or the NSSL while he was in Korea. So I mean, I don't think he even qualified for Code A. It's difficult to describe. It's one of those murky things, but I don't mean to bash him by any means. The thing is, Jaedong, I mean, he's been around for 10 years as a pro gamer, but nice pick-off for JJakji. Ooh, second one, that's disgusting. That's not sick, that's just disgusting. But he does get away with it. Of course, the Overlord coming in here does see that the barracks is continuing to crank out more Reapers. There's so many ways to abuse your play on this map as Terran versus Zerg. But based on the scouting information that JJakji has here, you should know that Jaedong has like something up his sleeves, and that involves 100 gas, 100 metabolic boost, be it metabolic boost or layer tech. It's very interesting to note that Jaedong actually hasn't gone for layer tech just yet, or not layer tech, but metabolic boost just yet. And I'm wondering, is he going for layer tech or is he going for metabolic boost? Because both of those only cost 100 gas. The real question is, when's he going to do it? And for the time being, he's wondering, do I need to make more lings to defend against these Reapers, or am I okay with 2 queens and a handful of slowlings? Or weaklings, as I saw on the front page of Reddit earlier today. Reddit StarCraft. There we go. 3rd and 4th gas is going down. And the timing for this 3rd to go out, well, oh, it's not going to be a 3rd. It's going to be a Roach Warren. Alright, I can appreciate that move. And an Evolution Chamber. I don't think that Evolution Chamber is in the right spot to create a full wall. I'm not trying to nitpick at Jaedong too much, but it's just one of those slight mistakes. Who knows? He could be jet lagged. used to American time, arrives in arrives in Europe to play at Gfinity. His sleep clock has been knocked off just a little bit. Let's put it that way. Oh, the Reapers and the Hellions going up there. All they gotta do is click on that Roach Warren and they know what's up. The Slowlings coming in here is very low in numbers, I might add. This is looking a little bit strange, but this is one of those maps that screams mech. Banshee openers are typically indicative of something like that, but I wouldn't say 100% by law of the land it would in fact be mech. Maybe JJakji is one of those players who prefers a very highly mobile army as opposed to a very strong turtley army. But whoa, that Reaper! Oh, man! Oh boy, that is some crazy stuff. Some crazy shenanigans going down here from JJakji. You got a queen kill with that one Reaper. That's a very worthy trade. That reminds me so much of game number 1 on Deadwing. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. But right now, that's a lot of Hellions out on the map. We've got additional barracks coming down. Tech Lab going down next to one. I mean, Tech Lab on it. Let's see what's going to be built next to this. Okay, it's another barracks. Alright, so it's going to be, definitively speaking, bio. And just by the merit of spotting that Roach Warren right now, JJakji knows he's going to have to go into defense mode. But that's a lot of Hellions he's got from himself. Yeah, this is one of those other things that I noted about this map. It's so long to get from one player's, I guess you could say, third base or open natural, if you will, to the other open natural. Or even one player's main to the other main. So perhaps, just perhaps, JJakji is one of those players who prefer to play bio on this map as opposed to mech. A handful of roaches will poke out here, not a whole lot of them. They do have speed, burrows on the way, +1 missile attacks just finishing up. They get an SCV for their time. Gonna go up here and see. Okay, there's no breaking into this. At least for the time being. There's only a single, well, a couple of Marauders now and a tank, but that's all you need to defend against 6 roaches. 6 roaches is the standard number, the magical number that you would make if you were trying to deal with Hellions coming by you at your natural or your main. The third is now good to go for the Dong. The third is now good to go for the JJakji. But I mean, Jaedong gets a slight lead on. He's going for +1 carapace and +2 missile attacks behind that. Roach Hydra versus something like this, I mean versus bio in general, can be quite strong, especially it becomes even more potent when you've got, say, Infestors coupled in with it, but it's very difficult to make Roach Hydra work on 2 bases. And now that he's gotten to 3, I feel like, yes, in some ways you can see Infestors fit into the mix, but you have to be very, very, very resource efficient. Infestors are those units that depend on energy. These roaches are getting cleaned up, as they did see the third, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they did. But what I was saying about this is, if you can make 3 or 4 Infestors and just keep them alive all throughout, or for as long as they need to get to full energy, then you just go straight up Roach Hydra, then you're just going to be balling in Terran blood. Terran gore, if you will. And what I really like coming here from Jaedong is his choice to keep just a handful of Hydras in his natural. They can shoot down medevacs should push come to shove. There's that one Banshee here. It's only gotten a single kill for its time, and I feel like this is a unit that hasn't quite paid for itself just yet, but this is looking a little bit interesting already. Okay, 3 base economy, very standard to have 2 factories, and that's a lot of tanks coming from JJakji. Now, at this stage in the game, I imagine what we'll see coming from the Dong is not necessarily a rapid tech up to Hive Tech, although it would be a very strong choice. It would be a very good choice for him to do that because of the number of tanks that are on the map. Skipping Infestors, going straight into Hive Tech would be, I think, somewhat optimal for dealing with a Terran player that has tanks out on the map. Blinding Clouds, they negate the firepower from them, and when you've got Roaches and Hydras that are able to deal with just full-blown bio on the ground, I'd say it becomes kind of a more than even fight. More so than that, because your opponent is committing army supply. He's committing resources and army supply to units that don't really work when they're under... that don't work at all once they're under Blinding Clouds. So here we go. That medevac, is it gonna get shot down? Oh my god, it gets focused down. It's that micro from the donger. Marauders don't even get a single kill, and here comes the move out to the front lines. There are Hellbats accompanying this though. Those are very good tanky units, but speaking of tanky, these units are outside the protective firing range of those siege tanks. There's a stim. Jaedong's just letting it go. He's going ham on these guys, but he's also getting himself hammed on. And he's gonna pull back for the time being. Alright, so at this moment, both sides, I guess you could say, kind of break away. We've got Jaedong trying to make something happen with his Zerg army. He says, okay, it's not going to happen with tanks in the mix. I'm going to go into hive tech. Do note that he has taken no upgrades for anything that he would take from an infestation pit. No enduring locusts, no pathogen glands, no neural parasite. He's just going straight for hive tech, and his opponent has caught on to that. So what's the next step? Vipers. And now JJakji says, I'm moving out before you can get any Vipers out on the map. And it looks like there's going to be a few units just trying to make a hand, or just a run by happen. And now JJakji is moving out so quickly, he doesn't have time to worry about creep clearing at all. Jaedong's just going to abandon this base and go for the full-blown base race in this peculiar scenario. What he's doing at this stage is he's preventing his opponent from, how do I say this, using his production optimally, and now JJakji's pulling back home to deal with the threat at hand. There is so much in the way of workers that are falling at this point. The Hydras and the Roaches are getting into the main and just trying to rip up this infrastructure. If they can destroy not just the infrastructure, but a lot of workers for their time, it'll be great. But he's losing a really, really expensive army in this base race. And now he's going to go for the natural. Oh my god, he's really tearing this one up. Oh man, 25, 28, 29 workers. 31, 32. He's just clicking on the SCVs. He says, I don't care if there's bio attacking me. And now he burrows some of those roaches. I imagine there will be scans on top of this. And now he's continuing to reinforce, just taking down his opponent's army piece by piece. He did lose his 4th base, but he's got it pieced back together. But what he's doing now is he's killing even more workers. Now his opponent's economy can't keep up with production. He's going to unburrow these Hydras in just a moment, I imagine. He's going for the command, the orbital command. Is he going to get it? It looks like the answer is no. It's so close. But he doesn't get it in the end. What he does get for his time is a whole poop ton of workers. And he's making it worth. So worth his time. Look at this. 44 workers killed to this stage in the game. Scan's going down on top of all of these burrowed units. At this point, yes, he did trade away his entire army. Yes, his opponent is coming back at him full swing. But I think he's made this work out to the point that it just doesn't matter anymore. And now it looks like he's... Forget my call about the Vipers earlier on. I do believe I made... No, I didn't. I didn't make the wrong call. At least not entirely. There they are. It's just that Jaedong doesn't have them pulled along with his main army just yet. All he has to do is make sure that the blinding clouds hit those siege tanks and that the fungal growths are quite valuable here. They are working magnificently. The blinding clouds are even more magnificent on top of this army. That means the Hydras are going toe-to-toe with all the Marines, the red HP Marines, and they're just forced to run straight through the blinding clouds. The tanks only get a handful of shots out, and now Jaedong is putting JJakji on the retreat. 3 tanks versus all of these Roaches and Hydras, unprotected, no meat shields in front of them, nothing to stop the Roaches and Hydras from coming at them, and that's going to put Jaedong up in such a significant advantage. Look at him. He's at 125 army supply to his opponent's 55. He's got +3 missile attacks on the way. He doesn't quite have the resources to get started on +3 carapace just yet. But the question is, can he break through JJakji at this peculiar moment in the game? We are just about to find out, guys. We are just about to find out. There's no tanks here. Oh boy, and now he just only now realizes this. Well, here we go. All the bio on the ground is doing its best to make the magnificent stand work. There's only 7 Marauders here. The Vipers just yoinking all those medevacs back. The SCV is getting pulled off of the line. If the defense is going to be made here, it's going to be very, very clutch, as we do have just the first 2 siege tanks being reproduced, popping out here. Medevacs doing their best to help hold the ground. Marauders are being eaten alive, being camped at the production line, but it looks like maybe, just maybe, the defense will be hard-fought but plausible. 71 supply is JJakji right now. 158 is the Tyrant, as they call Jaedong. And now at this point, I don't see JJakji turning this around. He's got 34 workers. His opponent's got 71. He's taken the gold base. He's on 5 bases to his opponent's 3. I don't mean to bash JJakji by any means, but I think he's stalling for time at this stage, thinking about, okay, what am I going to do in game number 3? What's the next map going to be? Did I pick it? Did he pick it? What's the order of the day? What am I going to do? Here we go. Another jab to the ribs, or is this going to be the dagger to the throat or the jab to the ribs? Who knows? It's going to be a tap to the head. Blinding cloud going on top of all that bio. They cannot engage here. Yoink going down on top of the tanks, and now the barracks are being eaten, just absolutely mauled alive, devoured by these snakes with grooved spines, and the roaches tanking for them in front. There we are, only a single tank to make the defense happen. At 51 supply, do we see JJakji leave the game? Ladies and gentlemen, this is game number 2 between JJakji and Jaedong at the Gfinity Spring Masters. I'll see you guys tomorrow with more replays. Don't go away.